let's just say like I had unlimited resources now as a manager and I could hire for whatever I wanted to hire for. I'll say, okay, you this designer here, come and start learning how to use all the AI tools so you can get us to be ahead of everybody else in the industry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pulse of Tech podcast, where we have insightful conversations about building digital products, brands, and teams, as well as explore the challenges of the tech industry. Again, this is Lady Adeni. I'm your host, and I'm super excited that you're here today listening to me speak. In today's episode, we have Tunde Mason, the current head of product design at Kuda, one of the first designers on the team and former Rise Vest. He's been in the creative space for about 10 years now, and he actually started as a photographer, which might be surprising to a lot of people. So, today we are going to be discussing AI and how it affects product design. So, will AI render product designers jobless and unable to feed their kids? I guess we'll find out. So yeah, Sunday. Thanks for coming on, man. How you doing?
Hi, hi, lady. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
So yeah, tell us a bit about your product design journey and how you became lead at Skuda.
Oh yeah. So my product design journey actually started with graphic design. I I started out as an intern in a web design and brand design agency. Um, I had like obviously zero experience at the time, and I was just like rounding up with university. Um, and I took a short course in graphic design. And one of the instructors or facilitators had a design agency, and he sounded like he knew what he was doing. So I felt like I could learn a lot from him. So I applied and basically begged to join them. I don't know. I guess they liked my face, so they employed me as a design intern. Um, and within within 6 months, because it was a very small agency. It was just in one big open plan room, and there was just like one big table, and we all sat around it. So basically, I knew what everyone was doing, and I could see what they were doing, we hear what they're talking about. So I got exposed to like so many things that I had never heard of before then. That's how I found out what the front end development was, back end. I started hearing about tech. I started hearing about companies like Paystack and Flutterwave and Carrywise and the likes. I started hearing about things like beyond graphic design, like product design, front end development. So I learned a lot in that. In like the first, I absorbed so much in the first like 6 months there. And after that first 6 months, I pivoted from graphic design to web and UI design, and I started like learning new stuff, picked up things from the projects we were working on. They started doing very small things like just resizing images, um, uploading images to like WordPress websites, things like that. And it seemed like a natural transition to go from graphic design to UI and UX, as that's what we called it at the time. Um, and I eventually moved from intern to like full time, and from full time, like a full time mid level designer, to like leading design on some projects. Um, but in an agency, you can't really. There's only so much you can do within an agency to like understand how products are built, or to like see a process through from
Yeah.
start to finish. You know, um, with agencies, you just like it's like consultancy. You just hand off to the real owners of the project, and they do whatever it is they want to do with this.
Yeah.
And sometimes they bring it back after like 2 years, and like everything is upside down. And you have to start from scratch again, and like it's not like a very it's not a very rewarding process. So I decided to move on from that and find more product based jobs. It didn't really make sense to keep working in consultancy, um, because I never really got that feeling of seeing a project or a product through all the phases of development and like constantly iterating and making it better. So I quit that job at some point and started looking for other opportunities that would help me build that uh, that muscle of seeing projects through from start to finish and staying on and continuously improving it, um, making it better over the years. And in my search while I was, well, basically jobless, I ended up meeting the CEO of Rice West. And I think the first thing I did for him was we designed a website. It was just like a one-off thing, but he liked like my work ethic when my speed because I did it very fast. And that was one thing I learned at agencies. At the agency I worked at, doing things very quickly. So I did it pretty quickly, and he was impressed. And then he brought the concept of Resvest to me, and I went from just doing the websites to actually working on the product. Um, and that was like my first real experience building something from scratch, and then taking it through multiple iterations of improvements, and collecting user feedback, failing and dealing with your failures, things like that. Um, and it was a truly eye-opening experience. And then somewhere along the line as well, uh, I got approached by the CEO of what eventually become Kuda, and at first I thought it wasn't a real thing because I had heard of things like Monzo and Revolut, but I was like, no one has done that in Nigeria, so why would I want to do what I haven't seen before? Even though I wasn't really sure that it was real. But then I actually went and I saw them, and they pitched the idea to me, and I saw some people, like the actual people working on it. So at that time, I used to get a lot of attention from people who were doing startups. They will want to build something, and they won't offer me a salary or anything. They'll be offering me equity, and I'm like, but this thing that you're building doesn't really make sense because you're saying you want to build. They'll call me with their proposals, and it's be like, oh, I want to build this super app that has the features of Google Maps and Uber and and Airbnb, and they'll call like five different unicorns, and the budget will be like 100K, and I'm like, okay, no, sorry, bye. you know, um, and they will be like, oh, 100K and equity in what? This thing you are building is not going to go anywhere. So like I was very very skeptical at the time whenever people approached me to build anything for them or with them. So I actually took my time to assess what they were doing. I saw that it was a real operation. I saw some people that I knew from projects I worked on before. You know, so I thought, okay, these guys are actually really doing something. And then I took a chance on them. They took a chance on me as well. Um, and I would say the rest is history because we've just continued going from strength to strength since I joined, and it's been a very fascinating journey.
Yeah, man. I can imagine. I mean, one thing I really I was really able to point out, and I think is going to be useful for people listening, is doing things very well and quickly is such an underrated skill.
Yeah.
And sometimes your work might be good, but if you're sluggish, you're taking weeks on weeks on weeks to complete the work, really, people would eventually lose their faith in your work. Because really, in this climate, everybody wants to move fast.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to they want to test out the idea as fast as possible, and they want to launch as fast as possible. At least put an MVP out there. So if the first point of contact, the prototype or the design, is what is taking the most time, then people start to worry. People start to worry. So yeah, just wanted to put that out. But yeah, thanks for sharing a bit of your story, man. It's inspiring. Um so yeah, let's move on to the AI topics. In what way do you see AI influencing the traditional processes of product design, in like ideation, prototyping, and iteration processes?
think I think it's mostly going to speed things up, reduce the need to do some repetitive tasks. Like for example, when you're starting a new project or a new work on a new concept, there's that ideation phase where you're like doing comparative analysis, doing research, looking for like competitors and looking at how they're doing similar things. Maybe not even competitors, just like people that are like adjacent to what it is you're trying to solve. The AI tools for product design, they help you like reduce the time to figure all those things out. So you can easily just type in a prompt and it brings out screens that are similar or try to solve the problem you're trying to solve. And I won't say they actually, the ones I've seen anyway so far, they don't there's no way they can replace a designer because they only work on like very, very, very separated parts of a flow, like very, very specific ideas. Like say, okay, I need a page that shows me how many how many pieces of an item I can order. You know, they deal with very, very specific prompts and they give you ideas based on those prompts. Now it's now up to you to take those ideas and like join them together and make something coherent. It- It's not like it says AI, but I don't think it's particularly intelligent. It's just a large compilation of things that gets combined into what may make sense. You know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I've seen the way AI is used in product design these days. I mean, you can just put in your prompts and it generates some ideas for you, but it's it doesn't give you exactly what you want right away. You would still have to go in there to put everything together to make it make sense, and you would have to do a lot of editing. But the groundwork that would usually take you like 2 hours to do, it has already done some of that for you. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you share some specific examples of some of the AI tools that you think will transform how design is going to work in the recent years?
so I would say I would think I'll stick with the more popular ones. So there's DALI, Stable Diffusion, Mid Journey. I think even Meta has released their own too. I think you can see it on the Instagram app. You can it's in their DMs. And what they usually do is you just spit out images based on what you tell them to do. And you can spit out basically anything you want. And one of the things you can use them to do is actually design screens, like UI screens, if you need them to. I mean, it may not be like particularly coherent because I've tried out some things on Midjourney before, and it brought out like screens or things that look like screens anyway, and it gives you like the vibe you're looking for. It's usually more of a visual design than like a functional thing. So if you want something that looks, say, ethereal or looks heavenly or looks flashy or like luxurious or say something that looks sporty or that is
Mm,
more fashion oriented, they can give you the vibe you want. But like to
yeah.
say, if you need it to give you something, like if you feed it like a PRD, it's not going to, it will choke. It won't give you something reasonable. Like it's going to mess up. It has to be like very very specific and very 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 directed to give you one image or two max. You know, before you get something that you can probably use to inspire the actual work that you're going to do.
Makes sense. So they give you the specific vibe. So especially when you are, if you are used to working in the fintech space, there's a certain kind of design style that's, the fintech space uses lots of blues, purple, and there's a specific style, there's a specific way the design systems are designed. Um, they tend to look more professional. And
Yeah,
if you get a job and or you get a new job that's in like the health space, for example, the or like a startup working with plants, you definitely can use the same approach
mhm.
as how you build fintech apps. So what you're saying is tools like this give you that specific vibe that, okay, I want to build a website for a startup that works with plants, that ships plants to people's houses, big
Yeah,
plants, small plants, and it can give you that, it can give you that vibe that you can walk towards,
yeah,
something
exactly.
something that will usually be out of your comfort zone that you might not think of on a good day. And instead of spending countless hours on dribble, it just spits it out for you. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
um can you think of any other shortcomings? I know you mentioned you have to give it some very specific prompts, but it can't really handle like PRDs right now.
yeah. Um, I would say so. Most of the issues that it has or that AI tools present to it are more ethical issues because the functionality bit is, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like if you put in a prompt and it gives you rubbish, that's giving you rubbish, and you want something else. You
Yeah.
know, but like a lot of the other shortcomings are more in line with, do you even have the right to use these images? Are they being sourced from people who give their permission to use these things? Um, so I mean, if your image is on Google, it's probably fair. It's probably like fair game for
Fair game.
any web
Yeah.
crawler or whatever. But like if you've done something and it's under some kind of NDA or copyright or something, and some compiler is hovering all the images from from the internet and has somehow found it, you know, is is basically stealing, and like it's stealing, but like it's not stealing that you can directly, um
Yeah. You can't
let's
link
say,
like where you
you can't,
stole
yeah, you
from
can't
exactly.
always exactly, but it's not something that should be done. Is it like taking the right people's information? Do they actually want this information to be, part of a large language model? Is There are lots of ethical issues when it comes to AI, and there's also the part where, okay, it makes some people feel useless and is actually sending some people out of work, mostly illustrators and photographers. Um, Also, at the same time, the AI tools are their outputs is very noticeable. So you can tell. I mean, it's getting better every day, but you can usually tell when something is AI generated. If like you just put it in without editing it, especially with the image generators. I can see like a lot of Nigerian banks these days in their creatives on ads, they use AI imagery a lot. They
Oh,
used to
really?
do
I've not
photography, like, yeah,
noticed.
yeah, yeah. Oh, they do. So if you look at almost all of them actually, because they usually use, I think I can tell because I did a lot of work for banks. Like I designed a lot of their creatives at some point, and they use a lot of stock images.
Yeah.
At the agency I worked, we had a Shutterstock account, and Shutterstock is a foreign-owned website. So the people there that you want to use for like the creatives are mostly white,
Mm.
and like there's a small percentage of images there that consists of black people. And when you're working
Oh, so
for
it's very
banks,
limited.
yeah, so you can I can tell say like I know all the
You know the
models,
faces.
all the all the African American models on Shutterstock. So like I can remember their faces, like they're my family now because I've used all of them for all kinds of creatives. So yeah, so I noticed that they switched from using all those stock images to I started seeing different faces on their ads and on their creatives on like Instagram and Twitter and whatever. And it just stops showing those regular customers. It started switching to like people I've seen before. And if you look closely, you can tell that these are not real people. Like the AI things have like these weird things to do with hands and eyes. If you zoom in enough, sometimes the skin is a bit too smooth. It looks so natural. And then even the images, like sometimes they don't handle scale very 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 well. So you can see maybe someone standing sitting down on a chair, and beside them is like a skyscraper, but like it looks artistic in a way, but like when you look at it, it doesn't really make sense. But they probably
Yeah.
just typed something that evokes that concept, but then what comes out doesn't really look real you know
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I know what you mean.
so yeah, like, yeah.
But really, would it matter to the regular person looking at this content that, for example, the banks are putting out? Like, would it
I
matter where
mean,
they got the images from if the marketing guy was able to complete his task in putting out the contents, although he got the images from AI generated software or AI generating software rather. Does it really matter where they got it from in terms of, like, are people going to be are people going to be concerned about where banks or where startups are getting their images from or videos?
I mean, the end user probably not. They don't really care. They're just seeing an ad or seeing an image, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Um, but at the end of the day, you, as a designer, and even as an observer, you would want to see things from a bigger picture. How do these things affect? Because as they've done that now, they've cut out one subscription from their budget. Say stock image subscription. They don't have to do photo shoots
Yeah.
when they want to do creatives. So one person, two people have probably lost. Well, not two. Well, one person has lost a job. Maybe photographer has lost job. Then for the creative part, maybe they used to have maybe like four graphic designers. Now they'll probably reduce to like two, because we don't really
Yeah.
need someone to be editing images so much anymore. Doing someone to be touching so much anymore, because you have this tool that can also bring out the images that they need directly. Because I know, apart from photography, banks usually also have um 3D guys, and when they want to go like really really hard on some creatives, they get those 3D guys to do things for them. And if those 3D guys aren't needed so much anymore, then you have to find something else to do. So I mean, to the average person, it probably doesn't matter, but like to people in design, obviously it matters. You need to like find how to stand out and not be like someone who is left by the wayside with all these tools that are coming out. Find a way to use them to your advantage and become, well, not a super designer, but just someone who is more useful, because it seems like eventually there are going to be more different kinds of design jobs with these tools coming up. Like the things that the way design has evolved since say 20, I'll say since the advent, since something like Sketch became popular, or Figma, design has changed rapidly since like 2017. Um, the barrier to entry has been getting lower and lower, um, and people who have succeeded are the ones who have embraced all the new tools. But when I first started doing, I think what even got me interested in UI product design was actually Sketch, and Sketch became very popular in 2016, 2017. Um, Before then, UI was mostly done in Photoshop. Until today, I don't understand how people did UI in Photoshop. Like, I don't understand how,
It was
because
the
I haven't even
ghetto.
tried it before. I haven't even tried it before. I think I only tried once with Illustrator. Illustrator is more.
Yeah.
It feels more natural because it has the unlimited canvas that tools like Figma and Sketch have. But
Yeah.
Photoshop is very very restricted, and it just has like layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. And you're like, how do people do UI with this? How do they use specs? How do they, you know, how?
Some people still
Um,
use Photoshop. I
ah,
I also tried Illustrator because it seemed more natural, right, to
mhm.
use to design UI. Some people started with Photoshop. Some people still use Photoshop. I know there was a project I worked on like very early last year for like
Last
a
year,
yeah last year for
2023.
yeah for like a non-profit organization, and we're supposed to build a website for them, and so they said, oh, they have a designer. I'm like, okay, cool. um let's hook me up to your designer, let's build this thing. And the designer sent me PDF files, and I was like, okay. And then he sent me PDF files and PSD files, and I was like, you did this thing in Photoshop? He said yes now. He said yes now, like that's what
Like
is
that, like it's
expected,
normal.
like it's normal. I was so confused, because to me, I'm like, people, since people were using Sketch, but you would understand that, okay, not everybody used like MacBooks, right? But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
there was Adobe XD, which was all the
yeah.
rage,
There was XT.
and then
Yeah,
Figma came along, and pretty much everybody moved from XD to Figma. Like I wanted to be ride or die XD, but eventually, even
Yeah.
me, even me, I just had to move eventually. But yeah,
Yeah.
people still use. I'm sure people still use Photoshop. It's probably just maybe 30 plus people. No shade to 30 plus people, sure. They probably learnt design. They probably learnt design like 10 to 15 years ago, and they're just stuck in that flow of doing it a certain way, and it really works for them. And they don't want the hassle of having to learn a new design too, and they probably work alone because if you're working on a team, there's no way you would have to use Figma. Even XD could not
Yeah.
crack that collaboration as well as Figma did. So it's probably solo designers still use Photoshop. But yeah, they're still out there, man.
More. That's crazy.
You shock you.
Photoshop in 2023.
Yeah,
Ah,
2023.
damn.
Yeah, yeah, it
That's
was.
insane.
Yeah, it's
Ah.
crazy. I mean, AI tools right now every time I see a new AI tool, it's like there's a new one every 2 business days. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I keep up? How do I keep up? I saw an AI tool called Reloom.io. It can help you do like site maps and wireframes and all those things. So you can just type in what you want to build, and it will generate a site map for you. It will generate a wireframe for you. And they did it in a very brilliant way, in such a way that if you say you want to build an agency website, they've they've already studied the site maps of agency websites. So hero homepage, hero section,
Damn.
services section, it's then portfolio section, show you your works, another page, contact form, because there's always a contact form or there's always a contacts, it can generate as much ideas for you as possible. So you don't need to start from scratch and thinking. Then you can just edit, say, oh, I don't want a services section. I want a feature section. And they have like a design system or like a design library where they have different styles of home pages. So they just randomly pick one for you, and they put in sections. So they have different libraries of sections rather, not pages. So maybe they have 10 different hero sections. So they just randomly generate one of those styles and then put it there for you. Then you can just decide to change it if you want to change it. So it's really cool, right? So people don't need to start from scratch anymore. I also ran into another tool that basically helps you with your presentations. So if you want to send a design brief in presentation format or a PRD in presentation format, just say write a PRD for this, and you can tell that it's taking the information from somewhere. It's not original, but
Yeah.
it's still giving you a structure that you can now use your common sense to say, okay,
Make
in the
it.
in the context of what I'm working on, no, I need to change this and change this. But yeah, like I don't know how good they are going to get. They're probably going to get more and more better, and really I'm not sure how far it's going
Checking
to
it
go.
out.
Oh yeah,
So
the
just checking it
Reloom
out
Abbey.
and Reloom, yeah, is actually quite insane.
Yeah, it is. And I think they have a free plan too. But yeah, like every tool is integrating AI now. Oh, there's AI this, AI that. Like, is it really needed? Like, I see AI in products that have no business having AI, and
That's another problem. Yeah.
it's a problem, right? Like, people are jumping on that bandwagon a lot, like riding on that buzzword, even when you're not supposed to put AI there. Like, they'll put AI. I had an interview recently for a product designer on at Bento, right? So we're talking to the guy. It was like a junior role. So we're talking to the guy, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, um, he took a look at our products and he thinks it's amazing, but he would like to suggest that we put an AI feature in our people products because we have an HRM product that we use." And he showed me a design that he did to improve the products. He added a button there called AI something something, and you know, just click on that button and something happens. It was interesting, right? It's not needed, but it was an interesting idea. So I'm there and I'm thinking, okay, this is an interesting idea. Kudos to this guy for thinking a step ahead. But is this something that is important for people? For people, is it going to cost them more time? Because that's something we are not thinking about. Sometimes I just want to go into a product, click, 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 I'm done. Right? Instead of having AI generate something for me and then I have to like change things around, and something that could have taken me
Yeah.
like 1 minute is taking me like 10 minutes to do. Like, people are not thinking about that. People just want that buzz of AI. Oh, there's AI in our products now. Let's do AI. Now we have AI, and then they do like a marketing campaign of AI, and I don't know. I have hot takes, but probably
I mean, everyone has their own
yeah.
what's it called? I mean, I think we're in an I don't know at what point we are, but like I think we're in the process of being in an AI bubble. It's kind of like how we had the crypto bubble a couple of years ago.
And
Actually, we've had the
NFTs.
crypto bubble a couple of times. I remember in 2017, it wasn't crypto then, it was blockchain. Everything was blockchain.
Mm,
Everybody wanted to add blockchain to their products.
yeah.
Um, and a lot of people got scammed. I know there was an MMM thing that also had blockchain inside that people lost money in.
Um.
And then another bubble burst again. They came back
Web
again
three.
as Web3. And then that one bust again.
You remember
And
Web3
now,
designer?
oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let them not even get started. Because I would
Yeah.
see people have like put on their bio that they are Web3 designers, and it's like, what's a Web3 designer?
What's
They're a
what
product
is
designer.
yeah.
Whether you're designing for Web2 or Web3, like where your services are needed, that's where you go. So if I become like, if I start working for say a health tech company, and I call myself a health tech designer,
Nail tech
no,
designer,
I'm still a
yeah.
product designer.
I'm
Whatever
surprised
project you
I've not
work
seen
on,
AI designer, sure.
I think I've seen a couple.
Is it
I've seen a
lie?
couple, but like I've actually seen a couple, but like not like
Okay.
Nigerian designers, but like usually like some foreign ones. They don't call themselves. They usually call themselves AI focused
Oh, that makes more
designers,
sense. That
or
makes more
like
sense.
they like leveraging, like discovering new tools. They're mostly content creators, to be fair, not really actual designers. Um, and they're just
Yeah.
gathering
The
them. They're
crowd.
marketers. That's what I'll say. Yeah, just gathering the crowd. Um,
That makes
but
sense.
yeah, I think we're in a bubble. We're in a bubble, and like everyone is just trying to fix in the thing that will get them either get them funding or get them attention. Because there are a lot of tools I've seen on new products that have come out, especially the ones that are trying to be replacements or additional replacement devices for your phone or additional devices that you can carry around. They are they like the ideas make sense. So I don't know if you've heard of there's a rabbit R1 and
Yeah,
there's the that AI pin. I think the what's it called again? I forgot the name again.
yeah. I heard about
The humane
human.
AI pin. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I never looked
That one
into
that is
that
voice
human
voice
AI
controlled.
pin then, but that rabbit, I looked
Or
into that rabbit and I was like, okay, this is cool. I mean, lots of cool ideas, but would they really work in the real world? That's, I guess that's the question.
there's That's the question, and there's a reason why a lot of them haven't like actually launched. Like they've just done like a lot of marketing. Um, they've done like promotional videos, and
He's
you
so
can
emotional,
see,
love it.
yeah, and like you can see like the concept makes sense, and I can see how it's better than in some ways than your phone. Like if, for example, I see how it works for accessibility scenarios. So for people who like can't really use their hands, for people who are even like temporarily disabled, say maybe you have an injury or and you can't really use your hands or you're bedridden and you need a voice assistance. It makes sense to have a tool that can do almost anything for you. But
Yeah,
like if you're like an able-bodied person, all those things, all those apps, all those AI tools, you don't need them because your phone does them a lot better and a lot faster. Because turning an AI tool with voice control, which is bad for privacy if you are in the public,
yeah,
you know, to like book a flight for you or to plan a trip or book an Uber for you or order food for you is weird because
it is.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of precision that goes into all those things that you do every day on your apps. You can like maybe like on the map now you want to order an Uber. Uber doesn't always know directly where your house is. So you have to like put the pin directly on your address, and like check estimates of a kidney. Because when you want to order an Uber, you don't just order the Uber and just go. You
mm-hmm.
first check both. You check Uber, you check InDrive, you check everybody and compare prices first.
Thank
And now say,
you.
okay, this is the cheapest one. Or this one is 10 minutes away, this one is 2 minutes away. I need to get there fast, or do I need to get there
Yeah,
cheap?
yeah,
You
yeah,
now
yeah,
decide which one you go with. You know, I mean, these tools can probably eventually learn those things, but like that level of precision is not there yet with all these voice enabled devices.
yeah,
So those are like the questions that keep me skeptical about them. But then at the same time, we should also learn how to design for those scenarios, and they are probably not the typical, you know, projects that we're used to as product designers today. You probably have to figure out how to design for voice enabled interfaces, um, design for maybe even like spatial um, experiences, things like that will also be powered by AI eventually. And like we don't even know what the new rules are going to be because right now everything is still kind of in flux. Um,
yeah. I think
so yeah.
the rules are still being created, to be honest.
Hmm.
2022, 2023, 2024. I think we're in that era of experimentation. So, like, what can we really do with this thing? Like, when ChatGPT came out, it was doing some things that people did not think in the next 20 years was going to be
Yeah.
possible. Like, I think we are in that phase right now to just experiment. So some of these products might not even be their target markets, might not be the general public, it might just be R&D, and that technology might evolve to power something else that will be more functional in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, I certainly feel like there might be too much hype around certain things. Not to say that hype is bad, but when you look at the way people generate content with hype, they would make it seem like, oh, this is the best thing that has happened after sliced bread. Like like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like when I saw that Reloom thing for the first time, the person that created the content was on Instagram Reels, and the guy said, never, it was like, never have to wireframe again, or never have to design your
Yes.
website again. The way they sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know, should I say weaponize the way they create the content? It's sort of misleading,
You see,
and
is
for the junior designer, it's like, oh, is product design really the space I want to get into? Because it
necessary.
seems like, yeah, it seems like this place has already been taken over by a software.
Yeah.
So what's the point of getting into this space? You know, I just think people haven't considered that, all they're thinking about is, oh, getting as much attention on their videos as possible. Um, yeah, I think that's something that we probably need to talk about more. People are not being very honest about how they sell these products. And it was the same for Web3, it was the same for crypto, it was the same for NFT. Just generate as much buzz as possible. People bought everything in NFTs: monkeys, sneakers, faces,
Yes.
houses, rocks. Exactly. And I heard recently Kevin Hart had to lose about 200K on an NFT he bought, and like reselling it for a much cheaper amount, because the buzz has died down, because the buzz always dies down eventually.
Yep.
So is the buzz going to die down with AI, or is it just going to evolve is it just going to evolve into something else? What do you think?
But I think, well, it's a normal thing with bubbles that there'll be a lot of noise to start with. Uh, but eventually the bubble will burst and all the noise will disappear. And the real things that work will now come come out of that busted bubble, so to speak.
Mm,
Um, you've had that multiple times with technology itself. Um, and with AI, I think many of the tools or the useless tools will eventually get figured out because a lot of these things are, a lot of them are basically wrappers for like the actual tools, the actual large language models that are in the background. So, for example, now almost any text-based AI tool used today is probably powered by ChatGPT. Um,
yeah.
any image generating one is probably powered by either DALI or Stable Diffusion or Midjourney somehow. So most of and they're fine. Those companies that are powering these things are fine with all the hype being generated because it just means more money for them. The main company that is enjoying everything right now is Nvidia, Microsoft. But like Nvidia is the one that is supplying the GPUs, that is providing the computing power for all of these people to like generate all their prompts and like train all these models that are being fed. with all these enormous amounts of data every single day.
Yeah, Nvidia
Um,
is eating good.
they are the ones that are really enjoying. So they don't really care what's going on, and let everybody keep dropping their sensationalist takes and everything. But like when you use the tool, you see whether it's useful for you or not. Because I think for now, me personally, I mean, I've tried a lot of all these design tools, but like if you have a design system that is sufficient within your organization already, you don't need to use an AI to generate any ideas because you already have enough ideas that you've already generated yourself. Um, and you only really need it for like anything that is completely like new and you know different from what you've already worked on. And even that is still the use case is still a bit limited for now. For someone like me in this organization because we've have had like 4 years of work that we've done. And anything new is always based on what already exists. So it's not super useful for us right now.
Yeah.
But I know at some point when we want to like move on to the next level of design with what we're doing, because obviously things don't stay the same. We'll definitely start leveraging those tools. Um, but apart from that, I think yeah, junior designers should not be scared. I don't think junior designers should be scared. Those junior designers should watch all those things and not say, "Oh, I don't want to be a designer anymore." You should watch it and learn how to use it, and then become better than other junior designers. Because if you can use those tools, or if you can show that you know how to use those tools or manipulate those tools, then people will want you. Like if for example now I needed someone who, let's just say like I had unlimited resources now as a manager and I could hire for whatever I wanted to hire for. I'll say, okay, you this designer here, come and start learning how to use all the AI tools. So you can get us to be ahead of everybody else in the industry. Just stay there and play with everything and figure out which one is the best one that can give us a design that looks like it came out in the year 3000. Things like that. Like I'm sure that there are definitely rules like that at much bigger companies. Because I listened to one podcast recently. There's a guy in Microsoft who is, I think he's like lead. His title is like lead AI designer or something like that. And all he doesn't really design anything like on Figma or whatever. All he does is talk about AI and talk about tools that designers can use with AI. And most of the people on his team are developers.
Mm.
They're not designers. Developers build the design tools. He just leads the team that builds the AI design tools. And that's one rule. He has a background in design, but he doesn't really design so much anymore because to achieve all the things you need to achieve with AI, you need the engineers, to be able to understand how to build and maintain all those large models. Um, so that's where I think things will go. Like the rules will change. Designers may just become like PMs, managing teams that actually build the things that other people use. That's one way it can go. We can't tell.
Yeah.
Um, but I think anyone that wants to like be useful should just like not give up and just keep watching and see what's going on, or seeing what's going on, and keep understanding where the next opportunity is going to come from. I'd also say that um, a lot of these new tools have like loopholes because once you start playing around with them, because I played around with a couple, and you always find something, either I think increases your workflow somehow, or it's probably too expensive sometimes because
Yeah.
You have to like weigh the pros and cons. Do I pay? I'm already paying for Figma. It's like 25.
Expensive.
It's expensive, sure. That's one way. That's the best way to describe it. Expensive. I want to pay an extra subscription every month to generate UI design concepts.
No. More
What are you getting paid for?
these
You know?
days, every new tool now, nothing is less than $8 per month
Aha.
in this economy. So how many do you want to have? Exactly.
So it's a lot of. I mean, maybe for people starting out, it can be you can lower the barrier for entry for them. But then if you don't already have like that previous design knowledge, like if you don't already know how design works, you won't really be able to do much with what those tools give you. You know, I can spit out something that makes sense now with this tool that we just saw, the Reloom tool. It looks nice, it looks pretty. But like if you don't know how to manipulate, know how to use Figma, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like you use it and it gives you something that looks nice. But then it's not exactly what you need. You have to change it.
Mm.
You have to get, the right branding, the right illustrations, the right copy, the right. I mean, they're tools for all of those things. But then, if you don't know what the correct or like the right thing or the appropriate thing is for all those things, like if you don't know what the right copy is for your brand or the right brand voice to use or the right colors to use to represent your brand, or the right kind of iconography to use for your brand, all those things will just be like it just be like a jumble, like it just be like a salad of nonsense that you just put out there that is meaningless, you know. So the people, the people that will make best use of these tools are people who already know how to do those things. So if you're already a good designer, you become a better designer. If you're already a good copywriter, you become a better copywriter. If you're already a good developer, you become a better developer. So I really don't think. I mean, it may. It will definitely lead to like some layoffs in some areas, or maybe little newer startups requiring less people to do certain things. But at the end of the day, if the people that will eventually end up getting those jobs are the ones who already know how to use these new tools,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Let's take a short break before we wrap up, and we'll go through
Hmm.
some rapid fire questions so the others can
Okay.
get to know you better. Okay, so
Okay.
let me start with this. Are you an iPhone or Android person?
iPhone. I mean,
Of course.
isn't that? I don't like. I feel like if you want to get serious as a designer, you have to get an iPhone.
Oh,
Like
really? Why?
That's how you start really seeing what you're working on. So when you I mean, this was probably truer in maybe 2016 or 17 or 18, because back then and Android phones had like very weird, their screens were not very very high quality. I mean, if you had to spend a lot of money to get like an Android phone that had like very high quality,
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
high quality screen.
Definitely.
So like it was easier to get an iPhone that would show you what exactly what you're working on, like, because you design something and it looks okay on your laptop, but at the end of the day, you're designing for phones,
Yeah.
so you need to sit on the phone to like replicate what you're designing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, back then the
so
Android phones were basically spec beasts. So you could get a cheaper
yeah,
Android phone with a lot of good specs, but they would have
Mm-hmm.
they would have made cuts, and where they usually make cuts is the screen department. Screens are usually expensive, so
Exactly.
they can get cheaper screens and give you like bigger RAM, better battery, and all those things. But yeah, so
And massive refresh rate of 120 hertz. All those all those
those ones are
big
expensive.
things.
Those ones are really expensive. And so everyone keeps sending me that video, and everybody keeps sending me that video for some reason. I don't speak like that. But yeah, Android people, it seems like they like to talk about specs, because when you're getting an iPhone, you don't really need to know the specs like that, because there's only so many.
Yeah,
There's only so many. So you're just picking one. You're picking the regular one, the Pro or the Pro Max. But for Android, there's so
yeah,
many options. So you need to know the specs. So when you're talking about refresh rate, you're like, oh, should I get one with the regular 60 hertz, 90 hertz, 120 hertz? Like these things start to matter when there's so many options for you to choose from.
yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely iPhone.
yeah, cool, cool, cool.
Oh yeah, and another thing about iPhones or rather iOS is the design is has always been very consistent, and it's like a lot of like contemporary apps actually base their design on iOS. So it's like it's a I mean if you are when you're in that like early stage of learning design, it's a it's an eye opening experience to start look at iOS and see how all those patterns were built, or all the things, all your favorite apps, they're built off like iOS patterns, like even the iconography, like everyone uses flat icons now, or even the way list styles are designed, transitions from screen to screen, they're all based on like the inner workings of iOS. And if you are very observant, you'll be able to easily pick things up and translate them to whatever project you're working on, and just say, okay, let's just try something that has been done in iOS. And it just makes everything a lot easier because you've seen this pattern before,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, definitely. For Android, it was mostly just the Nexus phones, which has now
Mm.
sort of graduated to the Pixel phones that had that Android consistency throughout with all the different versions that they've made. But if you go to a Samsung, they have their own OS. If
Yeah, they have their own design language.
Yeah, if you go to Sony,
OnePlus,
OnePlus,
Sony.
everybody is building their own OS with their own design language. So there isn't really a specific one. So really the way we have iPhone people, we would, instead of having Android people, we would just have like Samsung people or Sony people or
Yeah,
HTC
Pixel people.
Pixel people. Well, there's no HTC anymore. I really used to like HTC for some reason. But
Yeah, I think I had one that
oh, you had one.
was really cute phone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they had very
I
cute
mean,
phones. I don't know what happened to them. Just gone, vanished. Anyway, um, tea or coffee?
coffee, tentatively coffee.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because it's well, it's improved my focus on some days.
Oh yeah, I mean it's improving my focus right now
Yeah, so
after a long
yeah, improve
day.
my focus on some days. Yeah, but like if I go like maybe 1 week with taking coffee, but like the second week it starts having like the reverse effect and I have to stop.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, so I get coffee, but like in in a controlled fashion.
okay, that's cool. Do you prefer calling or texting?
Texting, texting by far.
Okay, makes sense. Do you do you ever feel this internal dread when someone calls you out of the blues?
Yes, that was like that was my first. How do I describe it now? So you know how people say they hate capitalism, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like my first. That was the first time I started saying I didn't like capitalism because of calls from my boss at the time. I would the thing is he would always have these ideas that were just like you're having these brain sparks. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then he would call me when he has the idea. And the problem was that he was in a different time zone at the time. He was in the
Uh,
US time zone. I was in Nigeria. And then he would call me when he has an idea and it's like 3 or 4 a.m. and it's like, bro, I'm sleeping now.
uh,
What could be going on? And like you sound like it's an emergency, but like it's just
he's
oh,
just
I think we should
excited.
move this body here. Yeah, like you can be excited, bro, but send you via message. I will get to you when I get to it when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
There's
yeah,
there's
that's when
that.
I started getting real terrible anxiety of phone calls because it's like, what could it possibly be again? Like,
Yeah.
but you know, they're just a small thing most times.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop me from not liking phone calls. I mean, now it's gotten a lot better because I've managed to kind of I now have a lot more control than I used to have.
Yeah, you can
Um,
always talk yourself
so
into it.
exactly. So yeah, I don't get that much anxiety anymore from them, but I used to be very bad.
Yeah, I feel you. Me too, man. Like sometimes I just have to talk myself into it because I'm usually just in a different headspace. Maybe I'm walking or I'm listening to
Hmm.
music and I'm in that zone where I'm enjoying, like I'm really enjoying the music, and then boom, phone call comes in, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah, and
what
it's like
could you really
so
want to talk
immediate.
about?
Like you have
You
to
have to switch
you
immediately.
have to answer it now
Yeah,
because like it takes you can see it and be like you can think about your response, take your time, and okay,
yeah.
then you
It's
respond.
like, why are you forcing me
But
to
with phone
talk
call,
right
it's
now?
like yeah, like I'm not in the mood.
That sounds
Like
that's
you like
that
I'm not in the
that
mood.
sounds terrible.
Just not in the mood, man. Please.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, yeah, Marvel or DC?
I'll say Marvel, Jerry. Spider-Man is my goods.
Oh, nice, 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 nice. Same here,
Yeah.
same here, same here. Okay. Yeah, light mode or dark mode? This one is usually interesting.
So when Dark Mode first came out, I was hyped about it. Everything was Dark Mode everywhere. But like now, I just set my thing to switch automatically. So during the daylight mode, during the night, dark mode. But like I don't really care that much about it anymore. I think it's only very really relevant on my phone because when I'm out, um, dark mode saves battery. But I don't really have it. I don't know. I used to be crazy about it. I can still remember when dark mode first came out on iOS, and I hope that was a very funny period. Dark mode, dark mode came out on iOS, and I had just joined Kuda then, and I upgraded my phone. That didn't, it came out. Apple they do this beta thing where they release
Yeah.
like the next version of iOS like 6 months before the actual release date. So I was like, you know what? I want this thing now. I'm not waiting until it comes out for everybody. I'll download it now. I downloaded it on my phone, installed it. Everything was looking good at the time. It was not opening because like I'm working on something. I need to be seeing what I'm designing. You did not open. So our iOS guy had not upgraded his what's it called, his Xcode
Oh, wow.
to the latest one. So it didn't support dark modes, and like that was just making the thing crash, 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 crash. So I had to restore my phone, like delete everything, and like downgrade it back to the previous iOS version. And the whole thing took like maybe 2 days for or something because of bad network or whatever. It was a very, very funny experience because I really, really wanted that mode and like I was really into it. I wanted to see what was going on, man. But then the powers that be said, no, do you want to collect salary this month? Please go and downgrade your phone back.
Man, that's
So yeah.
nah, I can't imagine how that must have felt, man. Because everything, like you said, the way you said it, man, everything was looking fresh and clean, and then
Yeah, like
boom, just gone like that. That must have sucked. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Let's go back to the conversation. So the last thing I wanted to
Mhm.
ask, as these AI tools continue to advance, how do you foresee the expectations of product designers changing in the workplace? I know you already mentioned that um, some guy at Microsoft became a designer that was designing AI tools and testing with developers. So, do you think there will be more roles like that?
Yeah. Definitely yes. I think designers will move into management roles, so to speak. That's just what I think. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen, but with the way things are right now, and the kind of tools that we have or that we're seeing, I think designers will probably move into more managerial roles. I mean, I don't think things like UI is probably not going away. Phones are not going away anytime soon. Um, voice control is not voice control and spatial UI, they're not quite refined yet. So I don't think like our phones and apps are going away anytime soon. Design will still be necessary, but like designer will still be necessary, but they will just move into slightly different roles from what they're doing today. Um, the junior product designer might become a junior product design manager or something, for on a project where you are managing, you are just in charge of the tools that you're using to generate the screens that work and then editing what is generated and making it match what's on your PRD before handing off to developers who would then,
Hmm.
convert that into code. Um, but that all depends on what tools come out because tomorrow now you can hear that one tool has come out that can convert what's it called, um, Figma screens directly to code without need for developers. But the thing is, there's something that a lot of people are missing. It's a thing that happens with a lot of, let's say, code generating tools.
Hmm.
So when you have a tool that generates code without actually building the thing from scratch or using like a framework that can be easily compiled into something else, there's a lot of abstraction that comes out of that whole process. And when you need to address certain things, you need someone that understands what that thing that has generated spat out to fix the issue. Because sometimes
Yeah.
you use a framework to build something, but then when you need to do something very, very specific, that framework doesn't understand how to do it. So you need someone who understands the framework to now go inside the code and fix it. And these new AI tools are actually bringing out problems like that because they've spat out, say, Swift code or React or something. You need someone who understands to React to be able to debug what the AI tool has spat out because the AI tool is probably not going to debug it. There's some things that they
Yeah.
can't do, you know. Just like how I said, the prompts can generate something, can only generate like a very specific thing. But when it comes to like plugging all the things together and making like a whole thing that works, That's where it kind of falls apart. So I think it's the same thing kind of applies to code as well. So there's like that layer of abstraction because right now with front end frameworks, that's what one I understand because I did a bit of front end. You write your code in React, but then you need to understand React or even JavaScript, basic JavaScript to be able to debug certain things. But now there's now an extra level because you need to understand what the AI thing routes. You may even understand what the AI thing is even compiling to be able to fix the problem that the thing has created from the way it wrote the code,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
So there will be new roles. Some will be development, the engineering roles, but even on design side, there will be some new problems that using all these AI tools will create that you now have to solve as a designer. I mean, it's probably still be called product design, but it'll just be slightly different from what we do today.
Yeah.
Maybe just your
Yeah, definitely.
day-to-day activities may be a bit different from what you do now. Um, Maybe the teams will be structured differently. Maybe instead of having one person per product line, we have like two or maybe one and a half. I don't know. I have no idea how things are going to go, but like, it's an interesting time, and I think the best for every one let's say one word of advice for every I have for every designer is just not to feel discouraged and don't feel you are being left behind. Just keep learning like all the new stuff that comes out. Because that's how I mean the companies will probably still be fine staying the way they currently are. Because for someone to still be using Photoshop to do UI, like you said, that means the company was as the people they work with are fine with what they see. So companies will probably still be fine with designers as they are today. But those companies may be reducing in number as years go by. You know, as newer companies keep springing up, they will need people who understand how to use all these tools and can work faster and bring out, better quality results in like short periods of time.
Yeah,
And
short
if you
period of
can do
time.
things fast, then you'll be able to demonstrate your value very quickly, and
Makes
be able to
sense,
stand
makes
out.
sense, makes sense.
But yeah,
Makes sense. Okay. Let me go through some action points that you mentioned. Um, so basically, AI is going to speed things up. So all the repetitive tasks
yeah,
that you use for research, comparison research, competitor analysis, wireframing, and they'll basically speed things up, but they only work on very specific prompts to help you generate ideas, and it's going to be the designer's responsibility to put those new results and those ideas together. Some of the tools you mentioned Dolly, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and we also talked about Reloom. And we also talked about some of their shortcomings and how there's a gray area where you might not have rights to use those images. The future would let us know, what laws would look like. We don't really know that yet. Every bubble is going to burst because we're currently in like an AI bubble where everybody's putting AI into their products, and when the bubble bursts, it's the ones that actually works that will be left, and the useless tools will be weeded out in the mist. And you also mentioned that designers will still need the the product design knowledge to work with AI tools. So the people that will be able to work best with them are the people that are already experienced designers, because those are the ones that would know how to put things together properly. So UI screens are not going away. which means product designers are not going away. Voice control and spatial UI will also be more refined. So product designers would also go into those areas, not just designing screens. They'll be designing for voice control. They'll be designing for spatial UI, like UI that works well with people's spaces, right? So that's basically it. Um, Thank you so much, Tunde, for coming on. Um,
Yeah,
where can people reach out to you?
you can reach out to me on Twitter, Tunde Mason, uh, LinkedIn. Although my LinkedIn DMs are like kind of a black hole right now, but Twitter is probably better because it's a newer account and I have a bit more control there.
No.
But yeah, Twitter is probably the best place right now. Or you can email me, kabir@tundemason.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. Thank you so much for your time, man. This has been amazing. This episode has
Yeah,
come
this was
to an
fun.
end. All right, let me stop the recording.
But they like my face and they let me in.
I think I lost you. I said you don't have a backup.
I have my backup. My backup is also MTN. That's the issue. Because this is my
You like
area.
living life dangerously, like MTN, MTN.